All right, folks, welcome to another live Q&A. It is Monday night. It is 4 p.m. here in Arizona, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. I know we changed the time a tiny little bit because of the time change everywhere else in the country, but in the U.S. And so, but in Arizona, sorry. So yeah, the time has changed from 2 weeks ago. But I see folks on the chat already. We have RC Adventures, Throttles Inspired, Glenn Cootie is here, Rick's Eye View, Drew's Day 2, Yellow Rose Drone, what's up? We have Travis Cheney, we have Drone Lake Guys with the Cookies, as always, Bill Walton, Ray Kelly, what's up Ray? David Cates, Curtis Warren, Carl F12, a lot of familiar names as always. Cadet Clark 1996 Aviation HD. Eric, Sparky is here. What's up, Sparky? We have Caden PM, After As Media, TN Ryder, Jeff Hannon, John Quist, Rafael Carella, Independent Drone Channel, Tim Colton, Eat More Possum. I didn't know you could eat possum, but Frank Swindler, Jack Shamblin, Detective 307, tons of folks. Welcome on board. I think I'm getting to the end here. Alien Drone is here. What's up, Keith? Thanks for joining. And I see we already have some questions. What did we do last week? We did quite a few things last week. Oh yeah, we did some recording. We did a cool BVLOS flight that's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. Legal BVLOS flight. We went further than we've ever gone with the drone away from us.
Over, do we want to say how many?
No, we're not going to say the distance yet, but
over 10,000 feet.
Definitely over 10,000, definitely over 15,000, and then some.
Less than 100,000.
Less than 100,000, but more than 15,000. Yeah, somewhere in that vicinity. We have the Peanut Gallery right here, Ben and Ethan, and then we have Bo out there somewhere listening as well, and Jason is in the back room looking at all your comments and putting them in the chat so I can answer them. Yeah, we had a good time. If you're in the community, on Friday we did a quick interview with Ben, who's back here. And then every week now in the community on Friday, we have happy hour. We're going to bring a different Pilot Institute employee so you can meet them. I realize I'm always on camera, obviously, but a lot of people are behind the scene making sure that the videos look good, and you don't always hear from them. So we will be introducing them. That's community only, but if you're a Pilot Institute student, free or paid, you can get access to that. So make sure you join us over there. Speaking of the community, you may have gotten a bunch of emails from us today. There was a bit of a burp in the system. We turned on notifications for the Part 107 2 weeks program, and unfortunately it ended up sending about a dozen email to everyone who was in there. So I think about 9,000 people get a dozen email within minutes, and some of you let us know. Thank you for letting us know. We got the messages as well, so if you got that, it was an error obviously, so you can disregard those emails. And yeah, you don't have to send us an email. Although Jillian was excited, she got a lot of emails today that she could answer. Jillian is our new community manager. If you haven't met her, we did a video 2 weeks ago on Friday introducing Jillian and her background, and you've seen her in Friday live as well on the community. So she's been getting her feet wet very quickly with a few issues that we had. So. And then we will be at Sun and Fun in 3 weeks? 3 weeks, 2 more weeks? Something like that.
I'm confused on the date because I'm coming after you.
April 7 is when I'm traveling, so I think April 9 is the first day of the event, so whatever that is in terms of days, they're flying by. I think it's 2 more weeks. We'll be at Sun and Fun in Lakeland, Florida. So if you're in the area, come visit. We'll be out there all week. It starts on Tuesday, it finishes on Sunday. Come say hi. Come get pictures. We have a ton of cool goodies. Maybe Bo, actually, can you grab some of the goodies that we just received? We have coasters. We have stickers. We have. Oh yeah, there you go. Here, throw that one to me. Nice.
That's my personal one. I need it back.
That you want it back? Okay. Some of these, should do a signed autograph version of these. Just kidding. Um, these are Velcro patches that you can put and put on your bags, put on whatever you want. So we'll be giving these away at Sun and Fun. We also have coasters, which I think Bo is getting right now. And then I feel like we get more stuff.
Backpacks.
Oh, backpacks. Well, backpacks are still, we're still choosing the backpacks at the moment. There is, yeah, there's quite a few options. Let's put it this way. We have high-end and well, high-end as in really big, low pro, 250, the big backpack that we have. And then, oh yeah, we get new hats as well. So those hats are going to be for VIP. But yeah, these are the coasters right here. I don't know if you can see through the plastic, but they're a really cool texture, super grippy. So we'll be giving these away to our favorite students. We have lanyards also at Sun and Fun available. We'll have some hats available, although we have a limited amount and we're not going to give those away to everyone, but we do have some as well. So yeah, lots of goodies. Okay, should we get started with the questions? I think we have quite a few already. Rick's Eye View says, I would like to purchase goggles to fly my Mavic 3 Classic without purchasing the RC motion controller. I have seen YouTube videos that give you a workaround to use the RC controller. Thoughts? With the goggles, I have to admit, I don't know. That's kind of a very niche thing that we haven't really tested, but if you've seen videos on YouTube that do it, it's got to be possible. Not something that we've tested. So I'm guessing you want to use the you want to use the regular controller using the goggles. So that should be possible because you can fly the Avata and the DJI with the regular. Oh, let me think about this for a second. With a normal RC controller, I don't know if that's possible because those have to be linked to, I don't know actually. That's a good question. Something we would have to test. I don't know.
That would be nice, because then you'd have an extra feed for your VO or something.
Yeah, or you can just view exactly and then use the VO for something else. Yeah, it would be interesting. Travis says, why isn't there any encouragement for competition in the US for drone manufacturers? Or if Congress is so worried about China, why don't they try to get DJI to sell to US investors? Good question. So two-part question. Any encouragement for competition in the US? There actually is some kind of encouragement. There's a tariff that's put on Chinese drones coming in the US, including DJI drones, to make them more expensive so that American manufacturers can compete a bit more on price. I'm not sure what other encouragement we need. We are a capitalist nation, which means that in most cases the best product wins, right? So yeah. I don't know what other competition or encouragement for competition we should have. There is the Blue program, the Blue list, Blue UAS list, which is a standard that only US manufacturers can meet for government contracts, so for government drones. So there is some incentives there. Now, as far as Congress being worried about China and why don't they try to get DJI to sell to US investors, I'm guessing you're talking about the TikTok comparison right now. Keep in mind that TikTok is heavily invested in by the Chinese government, which has a seat on the board of TikTok, of ByteDance, which is why the US is concerned about this. DJI does not. So slightly different. DJI is a private company as far as China is concerned. And I know some people say the Chinese government is always involved with even private companies, but slightly different situation, I think, than TikTok. Eric says, is the Autel Evo 640T V3 an aircraft worth buying, or would the DJI Mavic 3T be a better choice? Quite frankly, the Evo 640T is a great platform, especially the V3. That's got the latest chip in it. I don't know that it's better than the 3T, but it's not, if anything, not that much worse in the sense that you still get the same kind of sensor, 640 thermal sensor. The big advantage of the Evo 2 is that you have the ability to change the payload. So you could turn that drone into a regular RGB camera using the regular 1-inch sensor from Autel and put that on one drone. So one drone, two sensors, and you can easily swap them. So if anything, I would say that has an advantage. The Mavic 3 has the advantage of being newer. I think it has a slightly better flight time, but all in all, you cannot go wrong with the 640T for sure. BG45 says, is the DJI Mini 4 Pro good for an uncoordinated beginner? Yeah, absolutely. I live on the lake. Is there any problem flying over the lake? I know they do not float. They do not float, that's correct. It's hard to mess flying a drone like a Mini 4. It's got all the technology, it's got GPS hold, it's got altitude hold, it's got everything. So if anything happens, I always tell the students, just let go of the control. This thing is gonna land, it's gonna stay in place on its own, and that's kind of the oh crap button is just to let go of the control, and it just stabilizes. So I would say, no, that's definitely a great beginner's drone. Flying over the lake, just keep in mind that the sensors at the bottom of the drone that help keep altitude when you get closer to the ground don't do well over reflective surfaces like water. So if you're flying right over the lake, people have slowly descended into a lake thinking that they were maintaining altitude, but the sensors don't do a good job at keeping that height. So keep an eye on that as you're flying, but otherwise, no, I think you're good.
I got some very.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Mini 4 Pro, I can tell you I'm one of the more novice pilots in the office. I've had my Part 107 for the least amount of time, and flying the Mini 4 Pro I thought was really intuitive. With the obstacle avoidance, it felt really good, and then you have certain features like the spotlight feature and things like that that help you do some of these maneuvers that somebody like Greg is going to fly manually. So I really like the Mini 4 Pro. I think it's one of my more favorite drones that I've flown recently as a beginner.
Yep, agreed with that. 64-bit says, hi Greg, is a special permit needed to fly in unmanaged BLM airspace? Nope, the BLM says that you can fly. Now keep in mind, airspace is controlled by the FAA. BLM land would be the place where you take off and land with your drone. So BLM land, they say that you can use drones in there, no problem. Why can't I fly? Well, this is all caps. Should I just yell it? No.
Do it!
Why can't I fly over railroad tracks as long as there's no train coming? You can absolutely fly over railroad tracks, no problem. So not an issue. Cool Duke. Sparky says, what's up with remote ID and Apple devices? Great question. So Apple by design does not allow app creators to use Wi-Fi scanning as a function in their app, which is a functionality that is needed in order to scan for drones that use Wi-Fi for remote ID, aka all the drones that are standard remote ID, like all the DJI drones, all the Autel drones, they all use Wi-Fi as their way of broadcasting the information from the drone. So if you have an Apple device, an iOS device, you won't be able to pick up that Wi-Fi signal. You can only pick up Bluetooth, which Apple allows app developers to use, Bluetooth scanning. And so as a result, if you have an iOS device, you won't be able to see any drones from DJI that have standard remote ID. You'll only be able to see those modules. So I don't think this is going to change over time. This is, I think, a security thing from Apple, not for remote ID. They don't really care about remote ID, but just for not allowing app developers to just scan for Wi-Fi and then get information of Wi-Fi network in certain areas. So just how it is. Insignificant, 2 words, says, considering purchasing the Mavic 3 Enterprise Thermal compared to the Mavic 3, are the camera quality is comparable? Okay, the Mavic 3, the regular one that has only one camera, yes, it's going to be pretty comparable, but it's not going to have like all of the codec and all the options that you would have on the regular camera drone. So it's not a videography or photography drone per se. It has the basic stuff, but it's not as advanced. As far as image quality, yeah, it still has the 1-inch sensor, so you're not going to miss very much there. Matt Carroll says, have you guys seen the DJI Air3 knockoff drone? I forgot the name already, but they are identical, even down to the software. Curious about your thoughts regarding the matter. Yes, we have seen them. So what is it called? I saw somebody mentioning it. Spectra. So this is kind of a news that just broke out this weekend. Drone Excel wrote a great article on this. It appears that DJI has created a secondary company out of Hong Kong that designed and creates the drones in Singapore, and they're pretty much identical in specs, in look, except you don't have the DJI stickers on it. So it's like a stealth DJI drone that is sold under a different name. A lot of car manufacturers have done this over the years. I remember when I was a kid, you had Opel in Europe, and then you would go to England and it was called Vauxhall. It's just a different company name. I think if you went to Australia, it was also called Vauxhall. Different company names doing the same thing with in different areas. Now, I don't know the reasoning behind those different the car names and car brands, but it sure looks like in this case DJI is trying to bypass some of the restrictions imposed on them for being on the blacklist. If that's the case, we still don't really have 100% proof that it is a DJI company, but it sure looks like it. And I'm not sure of the legality of it, quite frankly. So we bought one. We bought an Air3. It should be here in a few days. We're going to be testing it. We're going to see if it's actually the same sensor, the same image quality, the same flight time, the same everything. And then we'll report back either here or in a full video. We've got our hands full with videos right now and courses, so we'll see if we can squeeze one in. But it's interesting. I know Jack from Chrome Drone, I think, is the one that kind of brought this to light. And so I think if you go on his channel, you'll be able to see some of that data. But yeah, I find it interesting, creative, quite frankly, from DJI. I know some people think it's nefarious because they're trying to bypass apps on the App Store. I personally don't think that's the case. I think if anything, they're just trying to bypass the embargo in a creative way. So we'll report back on that. As far as image quality, the price seems to be in line, maybe a tiny bit cheaper, but what this would mean is that this drone would not be banned from public safety agencies. So a public safety agency could buy this drone using federal dollars and be able to fly it. And yeah.
And no remote ID.
Oh yeah, and so the remote ID thing, we haven't seen it in the remote ID list yet on the DOC website. So you would have to put a module at this stage, unless the paperwork is being submitted and not yet approved, which is also a possibility. A lot of unknown at this stage because this kind of just broke. So I know some of you were asking about this last week, and I kind of had no idea what you were talking about, but now we kind of figured it out. So. Actually, Alien Drones. Keith says, I have a Spectre Air in my hands. Review almost done. Interesting discussion with DJI and Cogito. Cool. Well, look forward to it, Keith, Alien Drone. He says, Spectre has a DOC. Okay, cool. So, thanks, Keith. I guess we'll be looking for your video. So if you're not familiar with Alien Drones, Keith, he's one of our affiliates. He also creates a lot of great content. So make sure that you go and subscribe and see when that video pops out. Okay. Can a DJI drone be flown without any network connection to prevent others from getting into about the flight? Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because these remote controllers that we get, the RC and the RC Pro, most of the time when you fly, they're not connected to the internet, unlike your phone. Your phone is pretty much always connected unless you turn that off. But these controllers, we don't use any kind of, they don't have internet natively. You have to connect them to your phone and do the connection there. But we don't do that. So our drone, most of the time, we almost always use one of these controllers that has the screen because it's easier to set up. So almost every time we fly, it's not connected to the internet. And we don't really connect them to the internet here when we get back. So getting access to our data is pretty difficult without an internet connection. That's all I'm going to say about that. Chuck says, question, any idea why DJI turns off subject scanning between flights? I don't get the logic. Subject scanning. So I think subject scanning is when you have it in the mode where on the screen it pops up things that you can select to do an orbit or to do one of these semi-automated flights. I think because the reason they turn it off is I think not everybody is interested in having that. I think that's why it's off by default, but I just speculating, quite frankly. Any news on sub 250 going to 1 kilogram? Maddie, not going to happen at the moment. The problem is, for that to happen, it needs to come from Congress. The FAA doesn't have the power to make that change, meaning that for that to happen, it needs to come from the FAA Reauthorization Act, which right now is set for 2023. I know it's 2024, but it's supposed to be approved soon, sometimes, once the people that work at Congress decide to actually get to work. And then, but the proposal that we've seen, the draft version we've seen so far, does not have such language. So the FAA Reauthorization Act is about every 5 years. So if anything, we're not going to see that for another 5 years. So I don't think there's much motivation for anyone to do that at the moment. When you use, this is Ronald, when you use quick photo transfer using the DJI Fly app, is that at a lower resolution than the resolution copying directly from the memory card? No, it should be full resolution. Admittedly, I don't use that functionality all too much because usually Ben and Ethan and Bo are the ones that download the footage from the drone. No, we use the SD card usually because I think it's a lot quicker to do that and we can put it directly on the drone. But so I have not spent a whole lot of time doing that, but it should be full resolution from what I remember. Frito742 says, remote ID broadcast range, I fly 50 miles from the closest airport and 15 miles from the closest city. Is there anyone receiving my remote ID broadcast? No, they're not. Way too far. From our testing, I think the furthest we went in a remote environment in the middle of the desert-ish Arizona was 2 miles, I think, was the furthest that we got. And that was for a really expensive remote ID module. The other one was a few hundred feet, quite frankly. One of them was 200 feet. So no, definitely not going that far. Chris Cola says, could you make a video or right now give me some guidance for getting my drone repaired? I do not have insurance. Ooh, tough one. I mean, a few different ways you can go about this. You can send it to if I'm assuming it's a DJI drone or whatever, but send it back to the manufacturer, ask for a quote, see how much it's going to cost to do it. Buy a drone for parts and then use those parts to do it yourself. A lot of small electronic equipment in those drones, so not always easy to do yourself. Taking a drone apart, fixing it yourself requires some knowledge. So unfortunately, not a whole lot of options to get your drone fixed other than sending it back to the manufacturer. Sorry about that. Ray Kelly says, if you took a photo during a recreational flight and then someone wants to buy it from you, is it legal to sell it to them? Yes. Remember, Ray, the rule is the intent of the flight at the time of recording. So if you went up for fun and took photos and then you come back and somebody says, oh, I love that photo, I'll buy it from you, then just you can sell it technically. The FAA is not in the business of regulating commerce. They're in the business of regulating airspace access. John Espy says, what do you think can be done about Part 107 tiny whoops? Why can't easily carry the remote ID module and fly well at the same time? Yeah, that's a tough one. Now, my question would be, what do you do under Part 107 with a tiny whoop? Are you flying indoors, in which case you don't need remote ID? I just don't see I just don't know the application in this case. But yeah, as far as remote ID, so we got an email from, what's the folks in Czech Republic? Oh, I'm so bad with names. Anyways, the ones that do the drone tag BS. They're coming up with a new version of the drone tag that's going to be, I think he said, 5 grams, which is very small and can have a tiny, tiny battery powering it up. So this might be a good option. I think it's $99, he said. He's going to send us one to review, so we'll let you know. But that would be 5 grams on a tiny whoop, probably is okay, I would guess. 5 grams is not much. Yeah. Kenneth says, I had a client wanted thermal image and I fly a Mavic 3T, but he wanted RGB image as well. What are the RGB images? And does my Mavic 3T take them? RGB images are just RGB, red, green, and blue. So those are just your traditional images that you take with a normal camera, a non-thermal camera, let's put it this way. I know the Mavic 3T takes videos of RGB and thermal at the same time. I'm 99% sure it also takes photos. You can take photos of thermal, yeah, it does, of thermal and non-thermal at the same time. So that's, yeah, you should be able to take one photo, one click, and take a thermal image, JPEG, and then a regular JPEG as well. What's the current status of the Arizona ban bill? I don't remember. Last time we checked, it was going in, but I don't remember what came out of it. There's so many bills to keep track of, and we've been pretty busy with other things lately. I have to admit, I haven't checked, so we need to go and look back at that. Brad Guitar Man in Texas says, is a Part 107 license required to post family vacation drone reels on social media? Nope, you're good to go. All recreational. Mark Richardson says, sorry, I'm new to this. Just purchased the DJI Mini 4. I'm afraid to even take it out of the box. I would like to learn to fly. Any suggestions so I'm not breaking any rules? Mark, head over to our website. Go to the course section. There is a recreational flying made easy course that is available for free. There's also a DJI Mini 4 deep dive that is available for free. Both of these courses will get you ready for your first flight, tell you everything about the Mini 4, and get you on your way. And then we even have Trust on our website, which you have to do, which you'll learn in the Recreational Flying Made Easy course. It's also free, trust.pilotinstitute.com. So we have everything you need to get started on the website for free. So
and
don't.
beginner's guide and a few videos on YouTube.
Oh, that's true. We have a beautiful beginner's guide, like 40-some minute long beginner's guide of the Mini 4, and then we have a full review. Full review. So there's a ton of content you can get on just on our channel, and there's other people that do great content as well. But everything is right there. Aaron says, "What are some great advanced drones?" Aaron, it really depends on what you want to do. So advanced to me means you're probably looking for a DJI Matrice or an Autel Evo 4T, or I mean, there's a lot more advanced drones that are very niche that are not made by DJI or Autel. It really depends. Intel Maxwell Multi-Rotor says, given that it appears Amazon has reduced the price of the Mavic 3 Classic, do you think this could be a sign that the Mavic 4 is coming soon? I'm going to say no. I don't have any insights. I don't have any insights, but I'm going to say it's going to be a while before we see a Mavic 4, just because the time that it took between the Mavic 3 and the Mavic 2, and they released 8 Mavic 3s last year, 7. Yeah, something like that, which is crazy.
Well,
I mean, we made a video about it, right?
Yeah.
Posted right here. No, just kidding. So I think it's going to be a while. I think they're going to milk this for a while before they come out with a new one. We'll see. Here, don't put money on this, but my bet is that we'll see an Air 4. We'll see a Nevada 2. That's not a hard one. There's a lot of rumors out there. And we'll see a Mini 5 before we see a Mavic 4.
Really?
Mavic 4, yeah. That's my prediction.
if we got the Mavic 4 tomorrow, what would the upgrades be?
Oh, the Mavic 4 upgrades. Dude, the Mavic 3 is hard to beat. Think about it. It's got like 40-some minutes of flight time. It's got 3 cameras, a better 7X, a Micro Four Thirds sensor.
It's gonna do, the city's gonna do raw video.
Yeah, raw video,
They
but
have to do
man,
better cameras.
Who uses raw video? I mean, we don't even use raw videos for most of our stuff.
It's all about
But then you go into the Inspire 3, you know, stuff. I mean, a better 7x camera, a bigger sensor, macro four third. Think about it. The Inspire 3 has a Super 35 sensor, right? And then it had a micro four third before. So we're gonna see the micro four third in the Mavic series. So Mavic 4 probably micro four third. 5, I don't know. Maybe they can do the same, like a bigger sensor, micro four third sensor for all 3 lenses. One sensor, 3 lenses. I don't even know if it's physically possible because you need to have the camera aligned with the sensor. So
I would like to see one of these drones get built-in ND filters.
built-in ND filters would be nice, like we have on our Blackmagic cameras. That would be cool. I don't know, man. At one point, flight time, the dynamics of it is not going to change. It's going to have 4 arms. It's going to have 4 motors. It's going to be foldable. Everything has been changing is the sensor in itself, right? We're getting a bigger sensor. We're getting 3 cameras, just like your cell phone. I would say, look at what cell phones are doing, because that's what drones are going to be doing. Okay, that's going to be the next thing. So, cell phones are getting bigger. I guarantee you that drones are going to get slightly bigger every time. Battery are getting better. I think the improvement in battery in any devices that are battery powered, including EVs, have flattened slightly. I don't think we're making as much progress as we used to. I think everything is going to come down to the aerodynamics, better propellers, and then, yeah, better camera. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up. Drone Leg Guy says, does PI use HLG or D-Log? We use log for pretty much everything that we record, so.
And sometimes just the standard color profile.
Sometimes standard, yeah, it depends. It really depends on, yeah, it depends on the production.
Yeah.
It depends on the shot, quite frankly. If it's a main shot, if it's a B-roll shot, more than likely we're just going to use it regular profile. If it's something that we want to, you know, work on a little bit more, then we'll use log. We don't use HLG a whole lot. I find it a bit more difficult to, I think it's a bit more difficult to work with in software. And also remember, we have to match it to other cameras. When we have ground cameras, we have to match it as well. So we use Panasonic cameras on the ground typically when we are on the go. We use Blackmagic cameras in the studio. So there's some matching that needs to be done. Log is a bit better at doing that matching than HLG. I personally, I believe. Next. How important is it for a new drone operator to have a drone lawyer on retainer? I don't think you need that. I think it's good to know that there is one in your area if you ever get in trouble, but I don't think it's a necessity at all. Engineer Drone Services says, any idea if this will catch on in the future? Tethered aerial unmanned vehicle is powered and controlled via a tether. I think it's going to depend on the situation. Tethered is good if you need the flight time, right? Unlimited flight time in theory. You still need to have somebody. Ethan, actually, you've flown tethered drones, right? And you said it was a bit more work than most people think.
tether. Let's see. I flew my first tethered drone. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago now. And I had to take apart the tether system multiple times and untangle a wire. And it was just a big headache. Once we did get it into the air, we were freaking out because it likes to hover around 20% battery. But it'll hover there for 6-7 hours. And also it sucks because you're flying for 6-7 hours straight. It's, unless you need it, fly with just batteries, land, and swap.
Yep.
That's what I say.
Yep. So I don't know that this is the future, quite frankly. I think it's fairly restrictive, the length of the cable, obviously, and all that. I think for some applications, I always think about, I drive on my way to work. It's not a very long drive. It's about 6 miles. But there's one intersection that I hate because I think it's terribly designed. But there's one road that comes in, and then a lot of people go to the other road that's right here. And there's this kind of little turn here where people have to go in. And it blocks the whole left lane. And I always believe that this people coming from this side here should have a no turn on red, just because it impedes the traffic. And I would love to have a drone there all day just to do traffic analysis. And I think that would be perfect. A tethered drone standing right there, recording the traffic all day from a height, so you can see both of the intersection and how it affects the flow of cars. And then, of course, for police, fire, and public safety in general, I think that need to have a drone there standing up, looking at a fire, looking at a protest, looking at whatever it is that they're involved with. Probably also a good thing to have tether, but I don't think it's a very generic application. Next question. What did I just do? I messed it up. Do you know how far, let's see, do you know how far a FARA site goes, like in area, when a site is declared? It depends. It really depends on the location. It depends on what that site applied for. Is that depending on FARA? Most maps only have a dot. Yeah, so you have to go there. You have to find what they were approved for. Fair warning, a lot of these FARAs out there are AMA FARAs. And AMA will not allow you to be at one of these sites unless you're a member. So it's a pay-to-play scheme, which does not make me happy. This was the complete opposite of what the FARA was designed for. It's a place for people to go fly their drones without remote ID. Now it's become basically an elite location where you have to pay in order to get there. And now it's making, well, I'm not even going to say it because I'm going to go off on the AMA. But
Greg, what's a FARA?
oh, FARA, FAA recognized.
Isn't it a FARA?
It's a FARA if it's an FAA one, if it's an AMA one, because it's not free. Otherwise, it's a FARA.
Oh,
A FARA is a FAA recognized identification area, which is long word for a place where you can fly your drone without remote ID. But yeah, it's a sore subject for me because it explains a lot of the AMA stance on remote ID and why they were so silent during the whole remote ID building, and why the AMA representative was falling asleep during some of these meetings. I'm going to say it, and it's just annoying because they were the only group that were representing recreational pilots, and they stood there or slept there silent during those meetings, not opposing remote ID. And then now it makes sense of why, because it's a great selling point now for the AMA. All right, I said it. Luke Davis says, what's the best way to insure your drone? I use Verifly to cover any damage to property, and they recently shut down. I didn't realize they shut down. Interesting. There's a few others that you can use. Yeah, insurance is complicated if you want to do it per flight. I know some people are not busy enough to have a monthly policy, but I would recommend that you look into that. Yeah, insurance is a difficult topic. Ron Hagen, if your sub 250 drone is registered, do you need to have remote ID? Yes. The FAA says in part 89.101, it says that any drone that is registered or needs to be registered must have remote ID. So if you registered your drone, even if it doesn't need it, it means you need remote ID. But it's an easy fix. If you have a drone that's registered when it's not supposed to, aka a sub 250 gram drone flown for recreational purposes, just go into the FAA drone zone, go to your inventory, remove it from the inventory, remove the sticker from the drone. It's no longer registered. You no longer need remote ID. But make sure that you don't put any accessories on top of that drone to make it more than 250 grams. Why do I get weak signal alert on my Air2 after only 400 to 500 feet of flight? Interesting. Air2, I want to say Air2 had OQ-Sync 1 or 2. It's too far now, I don't remember. That's one of the drones that we never owned.
It's not Wi-Fi.
It's not Wi-Fi. No, the original Mini had Wi-Fi, and that was not really good. The Air 2, I think the original Air also had Wi-Fi, but I may be wrong on that. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm trying to think of the controller that was used at the time. I don't remember what controller the Air3 uses, but make sure the antennas are oriented correctly. That might be the issue. Make sure there's nothing on top of the drone maybe blocking the signal. Tough one. What's the purpose of having a flight tracking number when I am taking the exam in order to become a certified drone pilot? So what you're talking about is the FTN, flight tracking number, and the FTN, what is it, Jason?
We have an Air 2.
We do?
This is the one we crashed. With the parachute.
Oh, with the
Turn
parachute.
the parachute on.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, we do. Well, we had an Air2.
Oh, it's back there.
Oh, it's back. Yeah, but
It uses O2.
it uses O2.
RCN1.
Okay. RCN1? Okay.
Yep.
So that's O2. Okay, so there should be no reason that it's bad. Make sure the antennas are extended. Sorry, I'm switching between questions, but Jason came here to tell me that we have an Air2. Okay, FTN, flight tracking number, that's an IACRA. IACRA is the FAA website where you submit your application to become a pilot. A drone pilot or an airplane pilot, a helicopter pilot, any kind of pilot certificate the FAA issues, they do it through IACRA. The FTN is just your FAA tracking number. Think about it this way instead of flight tracking number. That's basically your reference code that the FAA is going to use. You need that because when you go take your test, they're going to put that number on your test results so it can be attached to your account when you submit your application. So that's the only way. It's for those of you that do databases, it's a unique ID number that basically connects between the written exam and your account. Fred Wild says, can DJI do anything to work around the country of origin bans? Well, I think they're working on that with that pseudo or apparent new brand that they created. So that would be a workaround for sure. Boop, boop, boop. Next. Next question is, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be flying their drone during the upcoming solar eclipse. Is there anything people should keep in mind when flying that day? Yes, I talked about this the last 2 weeks. I'm gonna say again what I said last week. Use filters that are solar filters, not ND filters. Even your darkest ND filter outside of the solar eclipse is what maybe some people even say during the solar eclipse will have the potentiality of messing up with your sensor, hurting your sensor. If you, and then, okay, sorry, I'm not having a stroke, I'm just thinking of. And then the other thing that I mentioned last week is the drone is ill-equipped to do great footage of an eclipse. The drone is very wide angle lens, typically in like low double digit, like 17, 18, 20 some millimeter equivalent for 35 millimeter lenses. So it's not going to be great. You're going to see a tiny little dot on your picture, and that's really about it. And then you're not really going to see the moon in front of the eclipse. What I mentioned last week, a better use of the drone to do this is to actually do a time lapse of the effect of the eclipse, meaning going from bright to dark to bright. A solar eclipse is going to last only a few minutes, the total eclipse, and then do footage of the landscape around you as it's going dark and then bright again. So put your drone in manual mode, expose it for daylight, and then let it go dark in manual mode. It's going to go super dark and it's going to come back up. And I think to me that's a much better use of the drone for doing this. And if you want to do pictures of the actual moon going in front of the sun, I would do it with a telephoto lens on a digital SLR and then use an actual solar filter. Yeah, don't aim your camera directly at the sun. It could actually hurt your sensor pretty badly. Just like you wouldn't look at the solar eclipse with your naked eye, even when it's fully dark.
Oh, I would.
Okay, Donald. I am wondering how the US license on my drone will help me in Canada. It will not. There's no equivalency of US licensing in Canada and vice versa. So you will have to get a Canadian license. I mentioned this last week as well. There's two different types of licenses in Canada. There is a a basic and an advanced. It depends on the level of risk that you're going to be taking with your drone. It's all risk-based. So go on the Transport Canada website and you'll read some information there. Yeah, and Sparky is in the comments. So Sparky, if you don't know Sparky, he has a commercial production company in Texas that does a lot of advanced work, and I mean it, with drones, large drones, expensive equipment, and he's talking about how not using a solar filter can basically ruin your camera in seconds. So I would say listen to Sparky. He's full of great knowledge. Sparky is a good sport. He's actually a fun guy to be around. He's quite the jokester. Can an American citizen get a Canadian certification to fly commercially? Yes, they can. Yes. D Fernandez says, why would a drone, old Mini 2, continue to try and land in water when flying over the ocean? This might be related, well, I don't know if it's trying to land in water, but I mentioned that early on in the video today. The sensors that measure the height of the drone over a surface don't like reflective surfaces. Like this desk is very reflective. It wouldn't do very well. Water is another very reflective surface. So these sensors don't do very well at measuring the height. So if you're moving forward, the drone may have a tendency to go down and then land in the water. There's plenty of videos online that show this happening. Windsurfed1 says, I don't quite understand. Does a Part 107 pilot still have to keep visual line of sight? VLOS, yes, absolutely. 107.31 is the visual line of sight requirement if you want to look at the details. But yes, you do. Can you recommend a quality VTOL aircraft for $2,000 or less? Maybe an old EB.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of eVTOL aircraft out there that are cheap in the first place. An old EB would probably be what I would go look at. Used, not old, just used. But I don't know. I don't know the Kelly Blue Book for that kind of drone right now.
Maybe a first-gen Wingtra without the camera, without batteries.
First-gen Wingtra, yeah, probably. Yeah, I know, it's tough. Yeah, 2K is not a whole lot for an eVTOL or a VTOL. Intel Maxwell says, I'm beginning to think DJI is actually trying to evade Chinese government export bans because now there's an Ensu robotic Raptor that looks like the Mavic 3 E and T. Yes, absolutely. I 100% think that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I can't say that I'm mad for them trying, quite frankly. You know, they're playing the rules like everybody else is playing the game, like everybody else is playing the game. Do you see more drone jobs coming in the near future, and what's the salary for them? Drone job and salaries is impossible to answer for a lot of reasons, because drones are used in a variety of different verticals and of different jobs, really. I can tell you what an airline pilot is going to make, because when you become a pilot for an airplane, you're going to go fly for an airline, or you're going to go fly here or fly here. There's a salary range. With a drone, you can be doing inspection, you can be doing real estate, you can be doing mapping, you can be doing thermal work, you can be doing, there's so many things that you can use the drone for, because it's more of a tool than anything else, okay? So salary is impossible to predict unless you tell me, you know, what you're interested in, what line of work you're interested in. If a realtor uses a drone that is not, a drone pilot that is not Part 107, let me do that again. If a realtor uses a drone pilot that is not Part 141, Part 107 certified, is the realtor liable in any way? There's a bunch of articles floating around that says yes, the person hiring the pilot can be held liable. There is some, and I don't remember where it is in the regulation, but there's some regulation in the Code of Federal Regulation that seems to back that up. So yes, realtors beware, do not hire people. But not only that, think about it this way. If you're a realtor, if you're watching and you're a realtor, and you say, I'm going to hire my nephew, or I'm gonna hire the local high school kid that's got a drone, right? And I'm gonna have them take videos of what's an average house in the U.S. these days, $350,000, right? And then they don't have a Part 107, which means they don't have insurance, because no insurance company will give somebody insurance if they don't have a Part 107 certificate. So you're hiring someone who is not certified, who is not insured. How's that going to look if they crash into the house? Now you have to go to your client and explain that the drone pilot is not insured, so you're going to have to cover that loss. You're going to lose the contract, you're going to lose your reputation, and then you're going to be liable for whatever the drone pilot, broke. So, terrible idea all around. But if that's what you want to do, not good. Glenn Cootie says, I'm currently enrolled in PI Part 107 course. When I pass certification, I want to offer aerial services with thermal to local law enforcement. General info on what else may be required, COA, it's for public safety. So you will only qualify for COA if the department themselves apply for the COA. So as an individual, you will not have access to a public safety COA, at least. There's a lot of different COAs, but for a public safety COA. So if you're going to offer that, you're going to be limited to Part 107 rules. You can get waivers for a bunch of different things. Local law enforcement doesn't always have the budget to hire someone to use the drones. You're going to be limited as to what scenes you can work in, because you are not a sworn officer. So these are things that we hear from law enforcement agencies that we work with. In most cases, a lot of law enforcement agencies will want to use their own drone pilots in order to do this. It depends on the size of the town in which you're in. It might be a small town where you can actually do this, but as far as COA, no, you will not be able to qualify for a public safety COA in this case. Husker the Cat says, I want to comply with remote ID, but I just cannot justify paying $100 for even the cheapest of module. Is there a way to either make my own, or is there some significant cheaper ones I'm missing? The cheapest one we've seen out there is $80 or so. You cannot make your own because it needs to be FAA approved, meaning that you have to submit the paperwork to the FAA, which is going to take a lot of time. And if you value your time, even at $10 an hour, it's going to take more than 8 hours to do that paperwork. So it's going to be cheaper to buy one, but yeah, $80 is the cheapest we've seen. There are some cheaper options that don't have batteries, but you have to integrate them into your drone. Yeah, not an easy solution, quite frankly. Insignificant says, are there any certification required for drone inspections? Can a Part 107 operator perform inspections at will for hire? It depends on the type of inspection. If I'm thinking home inspection, it depends on the state. I think some states, I'm not going to say most, some states require home inspection certification. And then the other inspections, it depends on what the customer is going to require. So it depends on the state, let's put it this way. Sorry, don't have a final answer here. John SP says, can I fly for fun while recording the solar eclipse and then post it to social media? Yep, absolutely, you can do that. Scott Thomas says, is there a way to force the Mini 4 Pro to emit remote ID with a lighter battery? No, there's not. The Mini 4 Pro has the update now that doesn't broadcast remote ID with the smaller battery. So if you're flying under Part 107 with the small battery, then you have to... Ooh, actually, hold on. There might be a hack. So the hack, from what we've been told, and I don't remember if we tested it in the office or not, but using the Mini 3 small batteries in the Mini 4 Pro, I think turns on remote ID. We'll have to verify that, but I think this is what we had tested or we had decided, because they're slightly different batteries. Jason actually, I think, can confirm. I think we talked about it last week and I forgot again the answer. That tells you how much my brain works. Vic says insurance is the issue when flying without Part 107. Yep, insurance will deny any claim due to it being an illegal flight. Absolutely. Well, we are getting pretty close to the end here. 5 minutes to go. Maybe that gives me a chance to go look at the comments. Everybody behaving in the comments. I know it's a full-time job for Jason back there to copy and paste the comments. So please leave a comment saying thank you, Jason, for doing that. I know it saves my life because I don't have to read through all of the chatter in here, although I would like to read it, but I also need to host, so it makes it difficult. Can you recommend insurance for FPV pilots? No difference, quite frankly, in insurance. So any insurance company will insure FPV pilots or other pilots. Doesn't the Mini 3 light battery in the Mini 4 put the combination over 249 grams, Alan asks. Yes, I think that's the point. So I think putting the Mini 3 small battery in the Mini 4 makes it over 249, which makes it actually broadcast remote ID. So, yeah. Any thermal certification programs recommended? No. Well, I don't know how to say this nicely. Jason and I did our level 1 thermography certification through the most popular trainer out there. And I don't know if it's because I'm picky and because it's my job to teach people, but I did not enjoy the class. I thought it was horribly organized. I didn't think the instructor was knowledgeable as far as the topic, but I didn't think the instructor was a good instructor in the sense of organizing content and getting the content delivered. And it was expensive. We paid a few $1,000s for this certification, which took several days of in-person training, sitting there in front of the computer because it was live. There was very little exercises for us to try and apply the knowledge. I was not impressed. But again, like I said, I'm a difficult customer because this is what I do for a living. And I have high standards, obviously, when it comes to that, and high expectations. So I cannot recommend the top #1 provider. I'm not going to mention their name, but the #1 provider of thermography training. I was not impressed. Now, some people have said that the in-person training is better than the online training that they have. So, yeah. Is thermography certification something that you would consider teaching? Yeah, absolutely. Not me, but we have been looking for somebody to teach this, and we actually have a curriculum developed already. We just need to find the right person that's going to be on camera for that. Okay. Phew. Have any of you at PI suffered injuries caused by drone mishaps? Not yet. Knock on wood.
That's not true. We've had 2 major injuries. The first one was when Bo lost his entire arm because of props on the bench. That was a short that we did. And then I think Ethan suffered a little bit of broken heart syndrome when he didn't win the 3 pilots, 3 editors competition.
I definitely did win.
Oh, you did? That's right.
Wait, what happened? You guys are not on camera, by the way. It's not switched. It's not
3
switched.
pilots, 3 editors competition. Ethan suffered a broken heart.
Oh, broken heart
Yeah.
because he lost. Well, no, he wasn't even in competition.
What? Yes, he was.
I think we.
Yeah, that was a Wes Anderson cut.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Oh, that one. I'm thinking of the other competition.
But no physical injuries aside from Bo's lost arm.
No, here, PI.
It grew back, right? Yeah, I'm all good.
It grew back. Was he a lizard?
Cut my hand open on a Mini 3.
We did crash a drone today, but we're not going to talk about it. Twice, but it's not broken. So that was Jason, not me.
I was just going to say that.
We did lose a drone. The only drone that we really lost to a crash was the Mavic 3 Cine, when both of all 4 of the motors shut down in flight because of a bad setting and a bad combination of movement that happened to shut down the motors in flight.
And
But
who was PIC during that flight?
I was PIC. It definitely broke that one. I was not the one that changed the setting, though. And nobody fessed up to that one, but I know who did it. Okay. I think that's it. It's getting close to 5 o'clock. Thanks for watching, as always. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for being here. We still have 210 people watching, so this is awesome. We have Friday news update, Friday night. We have Johan that's going to be in the community. Johan is the co-founder. He's going to be the next employee that we're going to feature in the happy hour. So join us at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're in the community, come ask your questions. Johan is not on camera very often, so this is one of, what, twice that he's been going to be on camera?
Yeah. Maybe so. And he's
Ever?
going to bring crumble.
And he's going to bring crumble, no pressure, Johan.
He's going to speak in full sentences.
It is going to speak in whole sentences. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, folks. Thanks all for watching, and we'll see you next time.